what I think Machu Picchu is when I'm there is I very much get a Library of Alexandria feel. This is a place of study. This is a place where the most important people of this civilization were allowed to come here. And another thing that's really fascinating about it, man. Oh, this is what I'm in right now. I haven't talked about this publicly. So like lost cities of the Inca, this idea has fascinated explorers for a really long time. There was a city called Vilcabamba that the American explorer Hiram Bingham was looking for. And Vilcabamba is the city that the last Inca emperor fled to. And I'm blanking on his name right now. I'm blanking on several things. Manco Inca. He's the last Inca emperor. He took about 250,000 Inca people out of Cusco, and they either built a new city or there was an ancient city that they knew that they could use way out. Yeah, so here's Manco Inca. There was an ancient city that existed out in the Amazon. I say the Andean Amazon, but it's still in the Amazon. That was available. Maybe it was abandoned, or maybe it was like not a very powerful place. But he knew it's where he could bring several 100,000 people to come build this new colony to get away from the Spaniards. So he takes 250,000 to like 500,000 Inca people out of Cusco. It's basically a mass exodus way out into the mountains to a place called Vilcabamba. And I think that they live out there in peace, and no one knew where they were for 11 years. And then Manco Inca comes back into like the semi-contacted like colonial world, and he gets stabbed to death in the street. And eventually the city of Vilcabamba, like the people kind of starve out and they have to come back. And the city is eventually lost to history. But it was this famous lost Inca city. And this is where the story gets interesting, because Hiram Bingham was looking for that in the Peruvian Amazon and accidentally found Machu Picchu. He never found the city of Vilcabamba. It was later explorers that went on and found Vilcabamba. So what this has opened up here, and I think that this is only sort of recently, and it's something that I only became privy to last month in Peru, was I was talking to a Peruvian historian there, and he was telling me about his idea that there's something more special about Machu Picchu than the city of Vilcabamba, because Vilcabamba was no secret. It was only the location was a secret, but everyone knew about Vilcabamba.
There's a huge exodus.
Yeah. But Machu Picchu, the Inca explicitly went out of their way to never, ever talk about it. They abandoned it at contact period when the Spaniards when they had taken over Cusco and they were starting to spread out. The Inca people picked up everything and abandoned Machu Picchu, because they can tell when they excavated it, there was like nothing there. Literally, there was nothing in the city. Other than there's some leftover artifacts. Like there's a little museum there, but it's like stark how much is not there that should have been. And so there's this idea that, okay, well, they must have picked up and left and abandoned the city. But nobody, not one Inca person, all of the Incas that were interviewed and used as sources in Spanish chroniclers, not one person ever even uttered the actual name of Machu Picchu. So nobody knows its significance, why it was so significant, and why the Inca people explicitly went out of their way to not even utter its name.
I mean, the silence kind of indicates the importance in a way, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Why do we know that it's called Machu Picchu? Like, what does that mean? Was that
It's the name of the mountain.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just the name of the mountain.
And that's the name that the Inca used?
No. Well, it's the name that the Inca people were using in 1911 when Hiram Bingham was down there and found the city, right? So they called the mountain Machu Picchu, but this is 115 years ago. That's what they called that mountain. So he just used, if my history is correct, he just used the same name for the mountain for the city.
That makes sense.
Yeah. We do not know what the city's name was.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
And the fact that they keep it so silent, it does kind of give it an air of reverence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or maybe like a hideaway. But it's also a massive undertaking to build a city like that, to not tell anyone or not have anyone know.
Right. My thought is, there's so many observatories. There's little reflection pools that are in some of the... So a reflection pool is about this big, and they found other reflection pools that are made out of that are made out of slate and like black basalt, and man, they're so expertly made. It's amazing. Like we talk about the. I'm sure you've seen the like the precision pre-dynastic vases from Egypt.
Yep.
That kind of stonework. The same quality of stonework is seen in these reflection pools.
Wow.
And it's basically this circular clock about this big. It's just perfectly carved and perfectly circular. And so they would sit it in the middle of these open roofed buildings. And so astronomers would sit down, and there's these little grid marks on the side of these bowls. And so they'd have the water sitting perfectly flat in it, and they would be watching the stars inside this bowl. And so they were figuring out like the cosmic wheel. And these artifacts have been found all throughout Machu Picchu. It's one of the most common things found at Machu Picchu. And so my thought is, this is an Alexandria type situation here. This is a university. This is where all the brightest minds in the Inca world were right here.
Wow.
For a long time, it was thought of as the Playboy mansion of the emperor. Like, what would they do? There was this legend that one of the palaces that's at Machu Picchu is like the palace of the concubines, or it's like where his concubines were being held. And one of them's called the nursery because he would impregnate all the most beautiful women, and they would give birth here. That's kind of just a myth, or at least people say it's a myth. There's nothing really behind it. These are just kind of popular myths and legends that have been passed down. But the way my mentor, Dr. Ed Barnhart, and I look at it is like, it's probably both. It's the Inca emperor can do whatever he wants. Machu Picchu is the most stunning place in the Inca realm, maybe other than the ancient city of Cusco itself. Cusco must have really been amazing. But if in the winter the Inca emperor wants to go up to Machu Picchu where there's these amazing views and the brightest minds, well, why wouldn't he have like some concubines there to hang out with, while he's got, so I don't know. But Machu Picchu, my guess is probably all of the sacred knowledge of the understanding of the cosmos and the universe and maybe religion was happening at Machu Picchu. And
now, it's difficult to get to Machu Picchu now. How difficult must it have been then?
Oh, it was almost impossible. He talks.
This is a 2-week journey, like by foot?
Oh, man. I don't know how long it took him to get to Machu Picchu from Cusco because he didn't know he was looking for it. He's kind of meandering through these outskirts of the Inca realm and asking locals for clues. I'm looking for this lost city of Vilcabamba. Is there anything that this is like, here's like the discovery of Machu Picchu broken down in like a paragraph. Hiram Bingham is going through the outskirts of the Inca realm. He knows about the lost city of Vilcabamba. He knows it's off to the east of Cusco in the Andean Amazon. So where the Andes Mountains meets the Amazon, it's just a jungle. It's a mountainous jungle. And so he's going from village to village and asking the locals, do you know of anything of cities in the jungle, like abandoned cities? You ever seen, like Templo, and he tried, communicating with them. And all of them are like, yes, and he would be taken to sites left and right. Most of them were very insignificant. And I think like all of them were not that significant. There would be little vestiges along the river where there'd be like a little farmhouse at the bottom of a river that was covered up by the overgrowth. But on top of it, you could see the terraces going up the mountain. You could tell, this was a wealthy farmer who was wealthy enough to build this big stone house. But this isn't a city. This is like his estate, basically. Mm-hmm. And so these locals out near the modern day city of Aguada Phoenix say, yes, up here on top of this mountain, there's some temples up there that we know about. And he's like, okay, take me up there. Now, these are temples that, think about it, probably 600 years ago, or I'm sorry, 500 years ago-ish, when Machu Picchu is abandoned, well, not everybody leaves. Like, probably you had, my guess when I'm up there and I'm just thinking about all the little stuff that never gets recorded in history, you probably had people who are living down at the bottom of the mountain that are just farming, because there's all kinds of farming terraces there too. So you had 700 people that lived in the principal part of the city, but you probably had maybe a few thousand that lived on the outskirts, and they were all farmers, right? Lower class people. Well, when the city gets abandoned, you definitely have people that are like, dude, we should just go live up there. You know,
Right?
let's
Like,
just go. Let's
you
just
got
go.
a sixth spring. Like you got
Yeah.
nice little architecture.
We know that this was happening in the Maya world. Like we found evidence of later Maya people living in the ruins and hanging out. Like we've even found little Maya board games from kids that were going and hanging out in abandoned buildings,
Oh, that's
playing games,
so cool.
like kids do today. So yeah, it's amazing. And all of that was pre-Columbian, right? So it's like we found evidence of kids hanging out in abandoned buildings after the city had been abandoned, way before Columbus was ever there. So it's just fascinating. So you probably have these farmers that when Machu Picchu gets abandoned, all these guys are like, dude, we're not going to Vilcabamba. Let's just go live up there. Like the Spanish aren't going to find us. And then eventually those people get absorbed into as the modern world spreads out into those furthest reaches, they eventually come down from the mountain to get things like plumbing, electricity, blah, 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 right? And then the jungle just grows over all those ruins and they sit up there. And a few generations later, the grandchildren of those people are like, yeah, there is like a little town up there or whatever that my great grandpa used to run around in, but
Right.
I've never been up there. I've never, and then so this guy comes in and he's like, oh, this gringo wants to go see these stupid abandoned buildings. Okay, yeah, well, give me $100 and I'll take you up there. And so they go up there and there's like it was really, really difficult to get up there because they didn't know exactly how to get up the mountain because at some points it's just sheer rock granite face.
Right.
And there's all kinds of stories of they'd be going up and it'd start raining in the middle of the day. Because it rains almost every day there. He had his guys like falling down the side of the mountain. I don't think anybody died, but they would slip and fall and roll like 30 feet. And then so everybody, according to the story, everyone would just bust out laughing and they would all just sit on the side of the mountain for like 30 more minutes and rest and then go back up. And I think it takes him, I could be wrong on my history here. I'm not an expert on Hiram Bingham, but I think it takes him a few days to like get up there and get settled, and then he starts really wandering around the ruins. And he's having to cut his way through the jungle. But he talks about how the jungle never affected the stonework. Like the stones are just so tightly packed together. And I think he explicitly says he's at the Temple of the Sun in Machu Picchu, and it's like this half circular temple where there's a straight edge wall on the side, and we know from the alignments that it's a solar temple because the sun, I'm not sure what equinox or solstice it is, but it rises up through a gateway on the opposite side of a different mountain. There's a different stone gateway that they eventually found. And I mean, it must be like 2 miles away, but you can see it up there. Like when people are walking up there, you have to stare and you can see people walking up there. And so the sun will rise on some equinox or solstice and it'll shine through that gateway and come straight through the window. And when it hits that back wall, they know that this new season has started. So there's so much there telling us that this is an astronomical observatory. This is a university, basically, is what Machu Picchu is. Or I should say it's the navel of their understanding of their world, right? Like this is where their understanding of everything comes from. But when Hiram Bingham found that temple, he didn't know any of that about it. But when he found it, he says something like he would dare to say that it's the greatest stonework in the entire world.